Hello and welcome to The Buzz. We have reached the last week of the regular season, but we're not going to talk about that yet. We're going to talk about the previous week, which is the second to last week of the regular season. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, the Lose Thrifty Way Game of the Week. This week's Lose Game of the Week is usually the game of the year. Maybe not the case this year, but it's still a good one, still the biggest rivalry in the state. One of the biggest rivalries in the nation, and it's Norfolk Catholic. They traveled to Pierce, earned a 56-20 win over the Blue Jays, and the Knights were simply dominant in every phase of the game. It started with David Englehaupt. The 6'4", 215-pound junior had himself the type of ball game that would make Marky Mark jealous. 16 carries, 198 yards. He'd scored 5 touchdowns. All of them came in the first half. At the time, we were kind of talking a little bit about possibly hitting that C1 touchdown record, which is 7. Didn't get any touchdowns in the second half. Norfolk Catholic, though, continued to score. Englehaupt also had 3 sacks and an interception in the game. Norfolk Catholic is a team, they rushed for 499 yards. The Knights have Boone Central Newman Grove next week. That will be a very big game. Another game involving a local team last week, Norfolk High. They got a big win over North Platte, but in the process, they kind of got hurt. It was a 41-7 win for the Panthers. Chase Hutchinson rushed for 138 yards on 21 carries. Ethan Middlestedt, 15 carries, 118 yards. They ran for 322 yards. Unfortunately for the Panthers, starting quarterback Gunnar Fuelberth went out with a knee injury, possibly a torn ACL. Backup quarterback Tayan Meyer came in. He had a great game for the Panthers, but the fact that Fuelberth not only started all of this year, started most of last year, that experience is going to be hard to replace as the playoffs approach. Norfolk High, though, they've proven they're a ground-based team, they're a defense-based team. This might hurt them temporarily, but I have a feeling the Panthers are going to be pretty strong in the Class A playoff field this year. I mentioned the last week of the regular season, there's a lot of teams still vying for playoff spots, a lot of teams trying to win district titles. One of those district titles will be on the line in Albion on Thursday night when Boone hosts Norfolk Catholic. Those, by most accounts, are the top 2 teams in Class C1. Now, last year I went out and I said, you know what, no one's going to touch Boone Central Newman Grove. Then Cozad beat them pretty handily in the semifinals. I'm not going to say that this year, but Norfolk Catholic and Boone Central Newman Grove are among those teams that are definitely in place to compete for a state championship. Pierce also gets in the Class C1 playoffs if they can defeat Madison, and Class C2, Oakland Craig has already clinched its district title. Battle Creek, which handily defeated Oakland Craig, will win the district title if they can defeat Lutheran High Northeast, which has basically clinched a playoff spot. Hartington Cedar Catholic, they need to beat Ainsworth, could get in without it, but if they beat Ainsworth, they're in. In Class D1, we have district champions already, Guardian Angel Central Catholic. Elgin Public Pope John defeated Neely Oakdale on Friday to clinch their district title. And in Class D2, why not? Humphrey St. Francis and Stewart are district champions. Stewart used me for inspiration for their district championship. I wrote a little something about Randolph earlier this year. They posted it on their locker room wall. I was bulletin board material. We'll talk a little bit about the teams that do qualify next week as we have a playoff preview here on The Buzz. Until then, remember that Wheaties are not found in the bottom of your shoes, and if they are, they're probably not healthy because they could be mixed in with a brown recluse spider. That spider might bite you in the lip, causing your lip to swell, and if your lip swells really big, you can't talk about football with me next week on The Buzz. I'm Tom Beamer.